Good morning, everybody. I believe we will get started. We are just a few minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. My name is Jesse Topper. I'm the chairman of the Performance-Based Funding Council, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. For everyone's information, the meeting is being live streamed and will be recorded and available on our website at performancebasedfundingcouncil.com. I'd like to remind everyone to please silence their phones before we begin. Ms. Acri, if you could please take the roll.
That's right.
Representative Topper.
Here.
Representative Schweier.
Here.
Senator Langerholt.
Here.
Senator Costa.
Here.
Deputy Secretary Fitterer.
Here.
Dr. Dwayne Pinkney.
Here.
Dr. Sarah Thorndike.
Here.
Ken Kaiser.
Quorum being established, I would like to thank the members of this council, as well as the state-related universities and the testifiers that have engaged with us over the last 5 months and really the last several years in working on this effort to improve our higher education system. At this time, I will entertain a motion to call up the final report for consideration.
So moved.
Been moved by Senator Langerholt, seconded by Senator Costa. Act 90 of 2024 established the Performance-Based Funding Council and presented us with a clear purpose to develop a process to distribute state funding for our state-related universities. That would be Penn State, Temple, and the University of Pittsburgh, that utilizes performance-based metrics designed to increase degree attainment, encourage affordability in higher education, meet workforce needs, and ultimately grow our economy. As I have said before, we have a constitutional obligation to provide an education for our students in the K through 12 system. When it comes to our system of higher education, it really is important for us to see our return on investment. That is something that we choose to do as a legislature and as a Commonwealth, and I really am encouraged by how many of our colleagues have come together, as well as the governor, with acknowledgement that we can and must do it in a better way and more effective way. And I think that what we have done through the work of this council has brought us to this point. We began, the specific council began the work in January and held hearings in Harrisburg and at each of the 3 institutions. And based on the input from the hearings, the council will be making the following recommendations in the report: to make the council permanent, to oversee the performance-based model, apply the performance-based model to new funds appropriated to the universities beginning in fiscal year 2026 to 27, and provide institutional advancement funding in this fiscal year. To determine a performance allocation for each university based on a fixed amount for the universities to implement strategies to improve outcomes, and each university's share of the total weighted student count. The student weighted count includes undergraduate enrollments, progression at 60 credits, Pell-eligible students, students from low matriculating high schools, community college transfers, and high-priority occupation degrees awarded. To determine each university's performance-based allocation based upon the following performance metrics: 1, 4-year graduation rates; 6-year graduation rates; 6-year Pell-eligible graduation rates, and high-demand degrees. Provide an opportunity for a bonus that incentivizes college affordability and rewards improvement toward each university's goals. These recommended changes are detailed in our report, which also includes information about the council and its work. Pursuant to Act 90, the council will begin drafting legislation to implement the recommended changes for the General Assembly to consider as a whole. At this time, before we take the vote, I'll open it up to anyone who might have comments. Senator Costa.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Leader Topper, thank you for the work that you have done in leading this commission. I also want to thank my colleagues, Senator Langerholt, Representative Schweier, and Deputy Secretary Fitterer, as well as the university representatives, Dr. Sarah Thorndike from Penn State, Dr. Dwayne Pinkney from Pitt, and Ken Kaiser from Temple. As indicated, this has been a very successful and rewarding process, and I think that the work product that this commission or council has produced is a testament to the time and effort that was collectively put into this. And I do want to take a moment to recognize the folks who put a lot of effort and time into it, and I will list a bunch of names, and I hope you all bear with me. Certainly want to start with my own staff who worked very closely with members from each of the staffs, respective caucuses, Michael Derry, Evan Martin, and Stephen Bruder. But also want to recognize Diane Akery and Jeff Miller from Chairman Topper's office, Vicki Wilkin, Gwen Dando, Noah, I'm sorry, Noah, I'm not going to get your name right, but Noah, any event, it's Noah. We all know who Noah is, right? Russ Miller from Senate Republican Caucus, Sean Brandon and Emma Elgin from the House Democratic Caucus, and Andrew Arbogast and Justin Cornelius from the administration. As I indicated, a lot of effort and a lot of hours went into this product, and I think it's something we need to recognize those folks, because I think it is going to be useful, as the chairman said, for the General Assembly to be able to have a very solid path moving forward and implementing and understanding and updating a performance-based funding methodology for our state-related universities that will hopefully create outcomes for our students and for our economy, as was the charge of the legislation, which is ultimately the goal here. Our goal was mentioned as prescribed in Act 90, as the chairman spoke about, is something I think this product represents and has done. What we have done here has met those goals, and we look forward to being a part of those conversations. I too am hopeful and optimistic that this upcoming budget season will represent an opportunity for us to be able to implement the recommendations into statute and allow us to be able to move forward under the timeline that was described with respect to year one, initially working with some resources to be able to prepare for the utilization of the recommendations and the goals that are set forth in the metrics as we go forward in 26, 27. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your work, and that's all my remarks.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Senator Langerholtz.
Thank you, Chairman. I too want to thank the members, Chairman, as well as members of this commission for all of your work. There has been a lot of testimony gleaned over many, many months. I want to thank all of the industry, or all of the universities, and all of the stakeholders, as well as those with the extreme knowledge on this subject, and I thank you for your work. We were tasked with something that is needed, in my opinion. I've said from the beginning, I believe we need to fund higher ed more. This is a good step, a good start to the process, and I know that there has been a lot of discussion, a lot of meetings, and that a lot of maybe different universities came in with different ideas of where they're at. I know I respect the temperament of the discussions that we had, and while a true definition of a compromise is that no one is entirely happy to not get everything that they want, I think what we have here is a great start, a good product that really was done over many, many months by a lot of staff and stakeholders, and I appreciate that, and I look forward to its implementation and the starting point of this to more funding for higher ed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Recognizes Chairman Schweier.
Thank you, sir. I join in thanking all the participants, all the staff for their very, very honest and very thoughtful work. And to Senator Langerholtz's point, I think the conversations have been fruitful, respectful, and based on the goal and focused on the goal. But taking a step back, last year during the budget season, we passed a series of changes that amount to significant ways that we are looking at the entire delivery of higher education in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. All four caucuses came together. We brought our various ideas and thoughts to the table, along with the administration. And the performance-based budget council was one of those ideas meant to do two things. Number one, get our arms around the cost of education, both short-term and long-term, and focus on delivery of services and putting our students first. And I genuinely think that the PBFC is another step in that process. Looking forward to the continued work of the State Board of Higher Education, the extending of the new scholarship programs that largely came from the Senate, and a number of those other changes that we made last year, so that we're able to again deliver for our students and our institutions. This entire process has taken a lot of good faith. There's been a lot of understanding, angst, particularly from our institutions, not just Pitt, Penn State, and Temple, but the entire reimagining of higher education in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I think people are seeing today that so long as we come to the table with well intentions and with a clear head, we're able to move the ball forward, again, for our own institutions, but more importantly for our students. Mr. Chair, I thank you for your leadership and look forward to moving the ball forward today.
Chair thanks the gentleman, recognizes Deputy Secretary Fitterer for comments.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate everybody's dedication to focusing on our students and the outcomes that will ultimately, benefit the entire Commonwealth, and this new focus on higher education. It's been really exciting to be involved with. And Senator, I want to thank you for mentioning staff by name. It was really enjoyable to meet a couple new staff people and really work together well. The one fear I always have with mentioning staff by name is that you might miss somebody. And I think there's a dear colleague that I think everybody was starting to look to as the expert from PDE, Mike Dotz, did a great job of hearing what was going on, what members wanted to see, and then coming up with solutions that he is aware of from the higher ed perspective that, hadn't maybe been daylighted before. So really appreciate his work as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments before we move to a vote? Just a reminder that for the purposes of this council, the vote requires 2/3, which would be 4 of the 5 voting members. Before we take that vote, I would just like to echo, obviously, my thanks for all the work of staff, for the work of the institutions as well. This is a new thing, and new things are not easy. The idea that we're going to be implementing something that will associate dollars with data is obviously going to be somewhat looked upon with skepticism, I'm sure, by many. But I didn't sense that skepticism throughout this process. I sensed both institutions and members of the General Assembly and the department who came to this with the idea of wanting to get this accomplished. And for that, I am grateful, because in this building, that is not always the way it is. In state government, that's not always the way it is. But we are looking for a path forward when it comes to funding institutions that we believe are critical to the success of our Commonwealth. We know how critical they are to the students that choose those institutions, and we believe that it is through state government support that we make these institutions available to students who might not otherwise have that option. I think as long as we continue to work in this manner and in the effort that we've given to this particular council, I can see great things in our future in restoring a lot of the trust in our system of higher education, both from the public trust as well as the governments, as well as from institution to institution. So once again, would like to thank everyone for their work. And Ms. Zachary, if you would take the roll, please, for our vote.
Chair Topper,
Yes.
Representative Peachwire,
Yes.
Senator Wayne Langerholt,
Yes.
Senator Jay Costa,
Yes.
Deputy Secretary Angela Fitterer.
Yes.
The motion being passed unanimously, we will move this report that will be adopted and published on the council's website as a recommendation before the General Assembly. Once again, I'd like to thank members of this council and the state-related universities for their participation and dedication. Once again, all the staff from the 4 caucuses as well as the administration to develop this model and the final report. The Performance-Based Funding Council is now adjourned. Thank you.